Cool. I think people are flocking in now, and the spaces will also be recorded so people can listen to it after we're done. So I guess we can begin, Anton. So thanks everyone for joining another round of Twitter Spaces with Liquity again. My name is Sam. I lead growth at Liquity. Today I'm joined by our marketing strategist at Liquity, Julian, who will be helping me co-host the spaces as well. And along with Julian, our special guest today is the general manager or the CEO of Holyheld, Anton. And the whole purpose of this spaces today is to learn more about Holyheld, who are pretty much the one card for all of crypto. They just launched last week, so we'll try to understand how it works with DeFi, how it works with Liquity and LUSD as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So Anton, I guess, first of all, major congratulations on launching Holyheld. I know it's been a long. It's you guys were known as a mover before, and now you're Holyheld. So maybe to set the stage for everyone, could you give us a bit of a kind of TLDR as to what is Holyheld?
Absolutely. And Sam, Julian, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you for having me on this. Well, let's where to start. I guess you summarized it really well. The very simple idea for Holyheld is to bridge DeFi and traditional finance. We have an idea and a vision that DeFi needs to be integrated natively. It means that whatever protocols or networks or things that or amazing things that you can do in DeFi, you should be able to benefit from them in the real world. And it may sound weird when I say real world, but we all need to pay for our rent. We all need to buy coffee, grocery. We all need to pay for kids' school, etc., etc. And what got us thinking is that why do we have such amazing primitives like Liquity? And you can't benefit that easily. You have to go through all these hoops and all these different things. And why is it even acceptable? Why is it even acceptable that things do not work, that it takes 5 to 10 different transactions, 2 to 3 different platforms just to do what you want to do with your money? And that's a very simple notion that we started and then we've been working on with Holyheld. But in short, yes, Holyheld, it is a debit card with an IBAN that works with Apple Pay, Google Pay, that you can order, and and it works with your non-custodial wallet. So you plug in your non-custodial wallet, order your card, and then you use it in the real world. We're at the very beginning. I still believe there's lots of work to be done, and very excited here to talk about the cool things that are already there and that will be there.
Very cool, Anton. So I think one question for me as someone who has, dabbled a bit with this Binance card, Coinbase card, and I've kind of have a decent understanding, but not like a full understanding of how it works. So how is Holyheld being non-custodial, as you mentioned, different to let's say a Binance card? Let's say, could you kind of give an example as to what you mean by a non-custodial and custodial card?
Absolutely. So I think crypto is and crypto Twitter, right, is the only place where we really use these words that much. For a regular person outside of crypto, I'm pretty sure they have never even considered or heard about the word custodial or non-custodial. Basically, what it stands for is who is the owner or who controls your crypto. In simple terms, if you use your non-custodial wallet, like MetaMask, Trust, Rabby, Frame, even Coinbase wallet, it's non-custodial because there's no company and there's no entity that controls your crypto for you. You do. So that brings both, right, the benefits and the downsides. The benefit is that nobody can take that crypto from you unless you give it. And the downside of it is obviously that, now you have to be a grown-up. Now you have to manage that. So the difference between the custodial approach to crypto with the debit cards is also follows the same logic. It means that in order for you to cash out your crypto, you need to send your crypto to someone. And then on that platform, then you need to say, hey guys, I just sent you some cryptos. By the way, wouldn't you be so kind to please convert that crypto to fiat because I want to spend it? And then when you make that request, I'm generalizing it. Obviously, it happens like automatically, fast, etc. But that's basically how it works. And then when you make that request, the company says, okay, well, yes, we acknowledge. Okay, yes, we custody your crypto. Okay, we can see that we control it. All right, here's the exchange rate. Please go ahead and we can convert it for you. In our case, it's different because you always have a zero exposure to smart contracts, and you always have zero exposure to us. Your crypto is your crypto, and then when you want to cash out, you give only the required approval or allowance for that specific amount of crypto that you want to cash out. It means that after that transaction, your allowance is zero to the contract. So essentially, what it means is that the contract cannot take the money from you. It cannot steal the money from you, or it cannot just, at some point of time say, you know what, we don't like you, so we're just gonna park your crypto with us, until you, I don't know, do something that we want. And this is a very simple, a basic difference, but it radically changes the entire model of how things work, because all of a sudden it happens that, okay, I can keep my crypto in my wallet that I want, that is Web3 compatible, that I can use with other protocols, with other networks. If I don't like the app that I'm using, what do you do with your wallet, right? You don't generate the new wallet. What do you do is, well, essentially, you just, you export your seed phrase, plug it into some other wallet, and you keep using the new wallet, but it's the same wallet address, right? And we wanted it to be the same way. We wanted you to have full control of your crypto, and yet have this native capability of, okay, I want to cash out here and now, and I want to control it. So to summarize a few things, the difference between custodial crypto debit card and non-custodial crypto debit card is who controls the cryptocurrency. And in one case, it is an entity or custodial or some service where you need to send your money first. In our case, you execute it on the spot. So you talk to the smart contract, you say you want to cash out, and then that transaction happens when you sign it and only when you do it. And finally, after that transaction, your allowance or net allowance to the smart contract is zero. So whatever you cashed out, that was it. Our contracts have excessive allowance protection. What it means is that you cannot give it an infinite allowance. You cannot.
I think that offering full control of your crypto is really, I think, vital for the crypto ecosystem. And you can see there is demand for the card by the excitement around it. If I remember correctly, users have broke the Holyheld limit on the number of registered cards during the first day, which really shows the great demand for the card. So yeah, really congratulations for that. I want to ask you something. You mentioned a bit that, but it would be nice if you go in a bit more details on how do you see the role of crypto debit cards in the context of crypto and also the fintech industries, or in other terms, why do we need to bridge DeFi and off-chain and maybe some use cases?
That's a very good one. I think that's a very hot topic, Julian. And for one reason, I think everyone here has heard at least once in their Twitter timeline something called crypto choke point operation 1.0, 2.0, 6.90. And what it means is that on one end, when we want to cash out, right? So when we want to move between DeFi crypto to fiat world or off-chain world, we still rely on banks because that's just legally one piece, right, of that puzzle that actually allows to move money around. And on the other point, we've been talking about, okay, well, how do we make it really native, this integration, and how do we stop relying on banks, etc. So it becomes a very, I would say, something called catch-22. How can you stop relying on banks, and at the same time, how can you do something like a crypto debit card, which relies on banks? And I can answer this in two directions. In one direction is, if you guys remember, back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, and so on, up to 2020, there's been quite a lot of attempts of people, I would say, like bringing or raising essentially raising the number of merchants accepting crypto natively. So when you go to the coffee store, it says, "Oh, we accept Bitcoins here, so you can pay right through your wallet." The reason why that it's growing, but it's growing very slow, and the very simple reason for that is that that merchant, right? So that coffee shop owner, they have their expenses in fiat, and only when their entire supply chain can switch to crypto, so when they can pay their salaries in crypto, when they can pay for those coffee beans in crypto, when they can pay for that delivery of those coffee beans in crypto, that's only when they can really, I would say, convert right fully to crypto. Up until that point, accepting cryptocurrency means that, yes, my Bitcoins are accepted, but then there's some company out there that right there, right at the spot, converts those Bitcoins to fiat. So the merchant never really touches Bitcoins. And it creates this dissonance. So why do I really need to accept crypto if I'm actually not accepting it? Will this increase my number of customers, or will this increase the size of the check? And that's why we go back to the problem. Okay, how do we scale DeFi into the rest of the world? If we try to build something from the ground up, it's expensive, it's long, it's very hard. We as an industry have been trying to do that for quite a while. So then there's another approach. Why don't we use the existing rails? We integrate DeFi natively today, and then we start expanding from there, and then we start making things better. So then we start improving things and start to decentralizing them. So this is where, again, we have a very interesting notion, right, which also has been very loud on Twitter, is progressive decentralization. So we took the second approach. We are saying that there's already existing financial rails that work globally. So Visa and MasterCard, they have hundreds of millions of merchants that already work there. And when you go to the shop, they have this POS terminal, right? You tap your card or insert it, whichever way, but then your transaction just goes through. So you don't need to ask, okay, do you accept this type of MasterCard card or that type of MasterCard card? That's way in the past. Now, in majority of countries around the globe, it's all there. It works seamlessly. So we chose this approach because it gives you an immediate option to spend your money almost everywhere that you want, and that was important for us. And then we as an industry, we can look up and think, okay, so these are the pieces of the puzzle. How do we change and how do we rebuild one piece at a time to then make the full flow of the transaction more seamless, more useful? I think that's at least a high level attempt to describe as to why do we need banks, or how do banks are still involved, or why do we still take this approach of debit cards instead of something else cards that may be plastic or virtual, but they don't depend on also like this incumbents. And the answer is that right now the incumbents, you can see them as bad or as good or as neutral, but they have the distribution network that DeFi doesn't. And that's why for us, it was important that we rely on those networks to make sure that our customers can use and spend their money everywhere. And at the same time, we provide this option of bridging and this gap, right, between something digital as DeFi and something that already exists in traditional finance.
Great answer. Thank you for that. It sounds that you really started building with the right approach, started with the why, and really using the existing financial infrastructure in order to build the path for crypto, which is the payment of the future, and even not the future, but for the moment. It seems that you really are doing a great job, and it's not a surprise for me that over the last 10 days, I've seen dozens of tweets from friends, mainly in the crypto industry, that have started using Holyheld card.
I appreciate the response from the community and the support from members. I do see a lot of familiar avatars and pictures in here. It was a long road, and I do believe that we're not at the end of it, but we're still at the beginning of it, because despite the fact that yes, it does work, there's still a lot more things that we need to do together on the DeFi side of things, and also on the traditional finance side of things. Maybe just a last touch point here is when I joined DeFi, I had this very simple notion is, okay, can you make, put it this way, we have DeFi, which runs by code, and the code can be immutable. But then at the same time, we have this traditional finance that is not. So if the bank wants to shut you down, they will. And we saw a lot of messages on that. And at the same point of time, the decision, as you mentioned, yes, indeed, we still went for this route because, again, the distribution network is what matters. We've been, we as an industry, we've been talking a lot about how can we scale to the next 1 billion users, right? How can we bring more people here? Because it's the same 10,000 people that try all these different protocols all together and share this all together. How do we onboard the rest? 900 million, 99, whatever, right? And I think this is the case. This is the adoption, and this is how you can introduce more people to crypto while abstracting this complexity to them, while yet still exposing them to benefits of self-custodying their crypto, which is the key point. And I think most of you guys here, you have probably at least one crypto debit card, and it doesn't matter which one. But I think you guys could agree, and maybe if you guys listening to this can put thumbs up or thumbs down if I'm correct or not. But if I can say maybe this relates to you, thumbs up, right, Julian? Yeah. Hold on a second. So here's my thesis. You can be crypto rich, so it doesn't matter how much crypto you have, but your bank account balance is almost net zero. So probably if you've been in crypto for a little while, you've built up this pattern where you only cash out from crypto to fiat only what you need to spend. So at the time when you actually spend what you wanted, your bank balance is back to zero or close to zero. So you keep your crypto, you use it, you cash out what you need to spend, and then essentially from the bank's perspective, right? It's like instead of you keeping your money in the bank, all they see is you deposit money into the bank, you spend it, and then it nets a zero, right? If that's something that you guys relate, just put a thumbs up or thumbs down, because then if the majority of the people, if I see that you guys relate or have the same experience or have the same pattern, I can also explain or provide a bit more insight as to, for example, why banks see us as the liability from the customer's perspective. Thumbs down, one thumbs up. Okay, not a lot, but all right. Maybe we'll leave this to the next time.
Thanks for the context, Anton. I think one thing for as this is a liquidity spaces as well, one thing for us to understand a little bit more is, what can actually users do with LUSD on Holyheld as of this minute? So I believe obviously you can pay with stuff using LUSD if you connect your MetaMask with Holyheld and you have LUSD on your wallet, then you can pay for it using the card. Am I correct? Other than that, is there anything else that users can do? And also from a holistic standpoint, curious to see why you integrated LUSD in the first place.
So LUSD is one of my favorite protocols to say. So I'm biased. That's just outside of the scope. But essentially, what LUSD taught us is that there has to be the stablecoin options. You have to have different options, and then you as a user, depending on your risk profile, depending on what do you believe in, depending on what kind of benefits or your usage, you should be able to have those that optionality. And what Liquity allows you to, it allows you one amazing thing. It allows you to keep your exposure in ETH, and at the same time to spend your money without losing that exposure in ETH. And I think the very first step for us was important to say that, okay, can I use LUSD natively? Can I have my LUSD? Can I accept LUSD? And can I spend my LUSD? And that's the short answer is yes. So LUSD you can top up and you can spend your money via the card. But I think this is the boring part. I think that the important part and the really cool and exciting part is this. Can I do more with LUSD? And that's essentially the answer is yes. And that's what the next goal is to be able to have this amazing flow of saying, okay, I have ETH and I want to keep my exposure in ETH. Now, can I natively or easily or in one transaction on chain without leaving the custody of my ETH, can I deposit my ETH and then mint LUSD and spend my LUSD? And I think this is the very important part. And I guess people in comments to this sorry about my voice. And people in the comments to this spaces, they can say what they're using their LUSD for. But I can give you tons of examples why I would want to keep my exposure to ETH. Maybe just even from the simple fact that I'm bullish on ETH, but to keep my exposure in ETH yet still pay for my daily expenses. And the moment that I can do that in one transaction easily without leaving my custody and still spending it in the real world, without making people look at me crazy, this would be a huge win. So I think that the next important part for us and for Liquity is to be able to provide that functionality and that feature.
I think everyone in this audience can agree that it's probably just when is a question for us, sir. When can we do this? Because I think being able to open up Trove using the Holyheld app in one instance, I think one thing as a whole crypto can improve on is user experience. And I think if you could have that availability within the app itself, I think it would be absolutely fantastic to get the next millions of users into crypto as well. Do you have any timeline that you can give, or I guess I don't want to put you in the spot as well, but it's
I think when is the hardest question for anyone in crypto, right? Because it is really hard to provide safe estimates. But what I can say is that we have played with that quite a lot, and we will be releasing this shortly. What we also have to understand is, well, we as users, we are really eager to use some of these amazing features, but that's also the problem, if I can say, of DeFi, is once you have something on chain, and if it's immutable, which it should be, then it's really hard to go back and say, hold on a second, we made a mistake here. How do we fix this? And there's been quite a lot of big hacks in the past. I think just today, I might be mistaken, but I've heard about one derivatives on-chain platform that found a critical bug. So please allow us for some time to make sure that you can use it and it works 10 of 10 times, and it is safe to use and it is secure, and it is as secure as Liquity protocol, which basically has built a tremendous I would say brand, because Liquity works extremely smooth, and that's something that we thrive to be on the same level at. So that's I'm trying to be as precise as possible, but yes, I think the most used word soon, it's coming there, but we will definitely notify you guys. And when I say soon, it's not some time, endlessly soon, which it should be, again, very, very soon in the realistic world. But yes, imagine this. Let's talk. You know what? Let's talk a bit more about how's it going to look like. Let's put Holyheld aside. Let's say you want to use Liquity right now, and you want to open a Trove, and you want to mint LUSD, and then you want to spend it, for example. How many steps, right? How many stages and how many transactions you need to do? Well, you need to open the Trove. So I'm sorry about my voice once again. You need to open the Trove. You need to you need to mint the LUSD. Then you need to most likely swap, or if you're using the exchange that does support LUSD, then good, right? You need to send LUSD. If it doesn't support it, then you need to swap LUSD on chain, and then you need to send whatever that other stable, for example, to that exchange. Then you need to sell that stable. Then you need to cash out that fiat to your bank account. Then when it arrives, that's when you can spend it, right? So at least two platforms So one, which is, again, the front end for Liquity protocol, and then the second one, which is the exchange, and at least 5 or 6 transactions. So the goal here for us would be is this. You connect your wallet that you already use. You already have our card. And what you do is, in one click, you basically say how much ETH you want to supply and how much LUSD you want to get. And if all of that works out, then what you should be able to do is you should be able to cash out that borrowed LUSD right in the same transaction. So the goal here is not somehow to magically increase the increase the net flow, but it's to increase or make it better user experience. Instead of those 2 platforms and instead of those 5 or 6 transactions, you're all just doing that in one and signing one transaction in your wallet. And then when you want to close the trove later on, or when you want to get back your ETH at some point in time, then you can do that right from that wallet that you own and that you self-custody. And yes, I think that would be an amazing experience. I haven't experienced that myself in any other place. I think maybe some people in here have tried zaps before. So zapping is, for example, when you use one token and then on the fly, right, in that same transaction, it's bundled so that you swap it and then use it to, for example, to rob it or to deposit it somewhere. This is like zapping, but on steroids. So I think that this could be a very, very cool use case for Liquity.
I'm very excited to see that use case coming into life. I think that's phenomenal when it does come into life, having everything done in one transaction in one place. Can I, if you don't mind me asking, currently with LUSD on Holyheld, you can still use the LUSD that sits on Optimism and Arbitrum to pay for the card transactions, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Holyheld is live on mainnet, Optimism, Polygon, Arbitrum, and Gnosis, so 5 networks, with more to come. And I expect Liquity to come also to more networks. But whatever we are and whatever Liquity is, it works. It works out of the box, yes.
Fantastic. And just before we kind of circle in with some questions, could you kind of talk a little bit more about the different features that are currently on there with Holyheld, and if other protocols needed from their side and from your side?
So where we started, initially we started building custom wrappers. What a wrapper is, or unwrapper, essentially, put it this way, in DeFi, there's liquid tokens, so something that can be swapped or exchanged through the DEX, and there's non-liquid tokens, but they have an on-chain path to liquidity. What it means is that, for example, you need to exit the vault, or you need to unwrap something, or you need to unstake something, and that something then becomes liquid. Now, if that's something that becomes liquid, then you should be able to use it. So the question was, again, how do you make it more convenient? So how do you, instead of going to, once again, 2 different platforms, making 2-3 different transactions, how can you bundle it all together and just make it work out of the box? And that's when we started with different wrappers, for example, for Liquity, or when we started wrappers for Alchemics, or even Yorn Vaults. We did quite a lot of those use cases. That was the initial start. That was the proof of concept that indeed making things one-clickable, if I can say this, is the way to improve that user experience that we've all been thriving for. And that's where comes the next step is, okay, can you do this manually forever? You can't. How do you scale it? And once you scale it, how much more complicated it could be. Can you, as we talked about, can you open the trove, or can someone open the trove and basically do it for you? Or can you use some other protocols, or can you use 2 protocols at the same time and communicate? All of that. So the answer to all of that is yes. But again, this is where the complexity kicks in. In crypto, different protocols are built with different code structure or logic, or different, essentially different architectures. And all of that complicates or slows us down. So despite the fact that DeFi is money Lego, and you don't need to ask the permission to build on someone else, right? Or using someone else's protocol, you still need time to make sure that things work properly. And I think that was something that was slowing us a lot before. So we've been working a lot as to how can we generalize the acceptance of that third-party contract logic on our end, and still allow things to be safely working out of the box.
Very nice. Regarding the on-chain transactions that you guys do on the back end, I think you mentioned, or maybe you mentioned to me in private, but is there like a protection for these, like let's say $25,000-$50,000 of protection in case anything goes wrong? Or did you guys partner with Sherlock, if I remember correctly, or could you maybe expand on that? Yeah.
Correct. Yes. So in terms of security, so yes, the contracts did undergo first of all multiple peer reviews and an audit. But the second thing, what is important is that the contracts have an excessive allowance protection. And what it means is that the contract on a contract level will revert the transaction where the allowance after the transaction is not net zero. What it means is that the goal for the smart contract is to always, is to always have the net zero allowance for the users. So after you've done your cash out, you should not have any exposure to the contract. That's the first thing. And then the second one is we want also the step ahead. And indeed, Sherlock is providing the insurance for us. So your on-chain transactions are insured up to $50,000. So what it means is that even after all of those cases, if something goes wrong on the on-chain side of things, your transaction is secured. And I think in the in the last 2 weeks or maybe 4 weeks now, we saw that Sherlock has already paid out 2 massive bug bounties, one to Euler, and I think the second one was to, if you can help me, I think it was something else. It was a much smaller payout, but you can see that Sherlock insurance does work. The payouts do work, and I hope we never need to exercise this, and this is our goal, and that's what we're working towards too. But we are doing everything we can to make sure that we can provide a safe, easy, and simple experience.
Yeah, I remember it was Euler. I'm not sure of the other one, but yeah, it's great to see that they paid out on that front as well. Cool. I guess one more question that I had, and I think we should have touched this earlier, but I guess as of right now, Holyheld is available to use only in Europe, correct?
Correct. Yes. And I guess we also had a lot of questions in the past week as to, again, why DeFi is global and traditional finance is not. And the answer to that is indeed that in traditional finance world, it is all region-based. Every country has its own different regulations, different rules, different requirements, and it simply takes time, a lot of time, to be able to go into the new markets. And we are actively working on that. We're working to expand and to support your region where, in your country where you live. But it is correct. For now, we're available in 31 European countries, yes.
Cool, perfect. I think in terms of the main gist of questions we wanted to get covered, I think we've done that. What would be great now is if we could get some of the audience members to ask some questions or, make any comments from their personal use of having used Holyheld as well. And one guy that I have brought up to the stage just now is Bojan, a member of the Liquity team. I think he has used Holyheld himself as well. Maybe Bojan, if you can chime in your experience, how it worked, and yeah, just say a few words.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me on. I indeed have the card. So right now you can only have it on Google and Apple Pay. I don't know if that was mentioned. I missed the beginning of the spaces. Sorry about that, but I do have it and I do use it. And I wanted to touch upon something regarding Liquity that I think Anton didn't mention. And I hope that I'm not sharing misinformation there, but I believe that you plan to have a communal trove set at a certain collateral ratio. This is a big improvement to the normal use case where you have to have a minimum debt of $2,000. So in that case, the case which Holyheld are planning for the DeFi integration, you could have just supply $100 of ETH and take out a $50 loan, which is a big, I know, improvement. If you're out and want to buy something, you just deposit some ETH from your mobile wallet, take out the loan, and that's pretty much it. Is that correct, or am I spreading misinformation, Anton?
No, that is correct. And wanted also to touch base. First of all, thank you for giving a try, and thank you for trying out the card. I really appreciate that. Touching base on this fixed debt ratio is again, as I mentioned, this is where we need to be very conservative, and we need to progressively improve things, right? Or make it make it more degen, or make it more flexible. But correct, our goal is to make sure that you don't need a large deposit, you don't need a large amount of money, and you can make it gas friendly, if I can say it in this way, and you can use it for smaller purchases, so that you don't need, as you mentioned, yes, so there's indeed the minimum deposit amount, but our goal is to make sure that you can use it for much smaller amounts of the transactions. And this is where the fixed ratio comes in case, where, again, we want to be on the safe side. We want to make sure that we start progressively from, smaller amounts, much stricter limits, and then work from there.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that it gets more accessible to everyone. They don't have to have big funds available to take out the loan, actually. And as I said, I do use it. I paid at the market for it. I actually bought ECC tickets yesterday with it. So it works, everything fine. You get some cash back. And I just love to try out those things. I'm a Monolith user, which is the only other non-custodial wallet, and so not wallet but card. I never had custodial wallets because I just don't feel comfortable having my funds with a third party. So I really like the setup that you go to MetaMask or Robbie or whatever and just send over $200 and top up the card and you're good to go. So I love that, and I'm happy to test it out, and yeah, really love the use case so far.
That's I think even if I can, I mean, maybe it must have been discussed many times, but let's just stop there for a second and think about, I mean, how much time and how much effort do you need to do in order to to file for a loan application with your bank, and then it can be over collateralized, it can be under collateralized, but in any case, either case, how much time and effort you need to spend in order to get that loan from your bank, and then when will it arrive, and then when you can start using it. Imagine the implications, right? Imagine the size of the changes to to our lives as individuals on a daily level, when you can use your assets and you can have a zero interest loan against your ETHs that you own, like your precious little ETHs out there, and still be able to spend that money that you have. And then, well, I think this is going to be amazing. I think this is something that will start changing the way we pay for things or the way we see things. And yeah, me, myself, I'm looking towards it very eagerly, and working very hard to bring that.
I think you haven't touched upon the tax yet, or have you?
Oh no, yeah, too much alpha. Well, I'll try to be very brief. So basically, all of you guys here on Twitter, you have your Twitter tags. So that's like a unique ID, something that other people can use to identify you on Twitter. So we're all used to that concept. Now, what we've introduced is the something we call holy tags, and that is a tag that you can create with us. You sign it with your wallet, so it belongs only to you. And what happens is that other users on the platform, they can send to your tag crypto. So for example, they can send you LUSD. And then if you, as a recipient, you approve that transaction, sorry about that. So if you approve that transaction, you can get the fiat on the card, so you can immediately spend it. So let's, to give you an example, me and Boyan, we went to drink coffee, and then Boyan paid for both of us, and he paid in what? Well, he paid in fiat, right? Because that's what the coffee shop accepts. But then later on, I wanted to pay back Boyan, and I asked Boyan, well, Boyan, what's your holy tag? Boyan sent me the holy tag, so I sent him LUSD, and then if Boyan would accept that transaction, then he'd get money on the card right away. So I think this is a new case there that allows people to spend and pay their friends more freely in crypto.
And I think this is without any fee, gas fee, or anything, or no?
For the recipient, yes, for the recipient. So you as an initial sender, because the transaction is still on chain, so you as a sender, you'd still pay that transaction because the money has to be taken from your account. But you as a recipient, no, yes, you don't need to pay. You simply sign. You simply sign. So for you, it's free as the recipient. Yeah.
And what about the IBAN connection? I'm not sure myself how that works. So you have an IBAN connected to the Holyheld card, sorry, and you can then also fund from your bank account the card, or you can just withdraw money there, or what's the setup?
It is indeed. You have your personal IBAN, and right now already you can fund from your another bank account if you want to. You can fund your Holyheld card with that, and later on this week we're also turning on the SEPA transfers. So what you can do is, if you want to, you can pay other businesses, or you can send money to your another bank accounts via SEPA transactions straight from your Holyheld card. Correct.
So you'll be able to take out a liquidity loan and then pay your electricity bill.
Electricity bill, your rent, anything. So what the goal is indeed to substitute all of the other bank accounts that you would need, and imagine this, exactly this. So you take the loan in ETH, and then you just pay for your rent. And if the crypto gods are on your side this month, maybe this month rent will be free for you, essentially. Which is obviously not the case, but I hope you guys get the joke.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about that use case, especially once the liquid integration lands. But I don't want to usurp too much time. So if there are questions, feel free to shoot.
Yeah, feel free to raise your hands, guys, and we'll bring you up to the stage to ask any questions.
I think it's a lot to digest, and I think what I also found out is what's interesting about crypto Twitter is that I think we're comfortable talking about crypto, but we as humans are not comfortable talking about personal finance. So that's why I think we all need time to digest what we've just talked about, the possibilities, because things are somewhat different from what we've used to. And look, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me here today. Obviously, if there's going to be any questions, happy to answer. And I myself, as I mentioned, I'm very eagerly looking forward to using Liquity directly from Holyheld, and to use that natively and easy right from my wallet. I think this would be amazing.
Cool. I don't think there are many questions. I think we were quite comprehensive with everything that we covered. So we can end it there. Thank you, everyone, for joining the spaces. Make sure to follow the Holyheld Twitter account as well. As mentioned earlier in the spaces, this spaces is recorded, so you can listen back to it as well. And thank you, Anton, so much for joining, and thank you all for joining as well. We'll be back again soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.